Hitchcock said, "Make your audience suffer." #challenge accepted. Good afternoon, faculty members, family, friends, distinguished guests, and especially a good afternoon to you all. Graduating class of 2022. We're here, we did it. I'm excited. My name is Shelby Mitchell-Adams, and I'm a proud member of the Akwesasne Mohawk Reservation. I'm humbled to address this wonderful gathering here today. I have to admit, when I found out that I was this year's valedictorian for my program, I Googled Indigenous valedictorians, and there wasn't that many. So we're getting there. We're making some history here. Then I told my daughter, I was like, "Hey, I'm valedictorian." She said, "You should have failed the class. You got to give a speech." So I'm very honored to have this space, and there's much to be thankful for. First, here at Toronto Film School, we have received the best education thanks to our fine administrators and mentors. They have prepared us to leave here knowing what is expected in the industry of our chosen paths and to take on whatever challenges come our way, or in my case, get in my way. For myself, I'm happy to see that finally the gatekeepers are opening the doors for diverse content creators such as myself, and we are demolishing stereotypes and misrepresentation, and Toronto Film School gave us all the platform to do so. Thank you. When I decided to go back to school, I had Googled best film schools in Canada, and Toronto Film School showed up at the very top. I seen the name Toronto Film School, and I was like, oh, I want that in my biography. And my biography was lacking, I have to admit. It said Shelby Mitchell-Adams, self-taught filmmaker, so boring. And I was like, okay, that's my mission. I'm gonna graduate to beef up my biography. But what I learned when I started to taking the classes is that we are getting way more than a textbook education. We are getting insider knowledge of industry, and you can't find that in any textbook. You see, we just didn't come to any school. We came to a school that prepared us to take things to the next level. And for myself as a video production student, my biggest takeaway was story is everything. Bottom line. The hardest part of my story here at Toronto Film School was my first year, I have to admit. And you can't find these stories in textbooks either. My community was having a march for Every Child Matters. And, you know, it was for all the children being found at residential schools. And my daughter and I decided that we were gonna go out there and we were gonna film this march, and we were gonna put a small clip together because I have 4 aunts that went to residential schools. And while I was doing my research on residential schools, I found a photograph of someone who had my last name. And I took that photo to my father. I said, "Dad, do you know who this is?" And in shock and sadness, he said, "It's my brother." And I was gutted. I was completely gutted in that moment because we were filming all of this. And it's the only picture that we have of him today. And it was a sad photo. He was getting ready to dig a hole under the guidance of a priest. And he passed before I was born, so I never got to meet him. So I carried a heavy heart during my time here, especially because we were all brought up in these government-run schools, including myself. And our Indigenous children today are still being found in unmarked graves. So we tell ourselves on the reservation, we're not victims, but we're survivors, and these stories have to be told. So I knew I had to incorporate the footage and tell a story that showcased the pain, but not be a victim. And I was very proud that I did give Toronto Film School the short film radio bingo, which won Best Canadian Short Film at our festival. Thank you. So you see, beefing up my biography wasn't a priority anymore, but telling the best stories that we have within ourselves needs to be at the forefront. My father wishes he could be here today, but it really turned into a triage situation on who would survive the 5-hour trip here. And Toronto Film School's 2 guest limit. So I didn't grow up with a mother, and my father is my mother and my father, and he's my biggest supporter. Gonalunko Lagni, which means I love you, Father, in the Mohawk language. But what also is important is the wonderful addition to my story here at Toronto Film School is the friends that I have made. We supported each other, we helped each other, and I didn't have to force any of them to read my scripts, which was perfect. And they are Dean Tremblay and Brian Anderson, amazing filmmakers that I know are going to be doing some great things. And of course, I have to name drop a couple professors that kept me in the game at another low point in my life. And that's Stephen Hoffner. You are a beacon of light in my sometimes dark world. And Blaine Waters, oh my God, you just saved me from drowning with your kind words and guidance and support. I mean, they are beautiful gifts, and I'm so happy that I get to honor them today. Lastly, of course, I have to give a shout out to my two family members that were able to come. I love you. You know that. They had to fend for themselves, cook for themselves, get the laundry done, all by themselves, and I forced them to watch my films over and over again for every change, and I know they're angry at me for it, but I love you. I basically drove them nuts. And lastly, I have to thank my community, Akwesasne. It truly takes a village. Lastly, I want to thank all my professors and mentors for guiding the process and pushing us to raise the bar. You know, when we leave here today and step outside those doors, I encourage you to pick your genre and tell your story and have the courage to put your heart and soul out into the universe. And you know, I'm not going to lie, it's going to be scary. I know, because this is scary. But be a survivor. And when you do, you're going to remember this moment, and at the same time, I'm going to remember all of you, and I'm going to smile because next to your name is going to be your biography for your film or your creation, and it's going to say Toronto Film School, and there ain't anything cooler than that. Congratulations.